What's worse, Dune fans or Star Wars fans?
Oh man, it was definitely better than one in my opinion, because one is just a giant trailer, and two is where like stuff actually like hits the sand and starts pounding away.
It's breathtaking. I'm ready whenever you are.
Yeah, I guess I'm ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
You messed it up really bad.
Whatever.
You're not supposed to say one.
Okay.
Again, countdown.
Okay. 5, 4. Hello, welcome to Show Boys. We're here, the OG duo again. I guess.
I wish it was
March
the
Madness.
OG trio. That would be better, but
we've been airing reruns of old episodes of our entire backlog over on Twitch.
Oh yeah.
So if you're ever bored and want to just watch a random episode of Show Boys, it's literally running 24/7 for like the next 16 days. Which is just wild to think about in the first place, that we have that much content out there. But we have an actual episode that's not a rerun tonight. It might sound like a rerun. Wow, I just realized the last 2 episodes we did, Masters of the Air Part 2, Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
Like 2 of the last episodes we recorded before.
We're back.
Madness.
Right back at it.
Picking right back up where we left off. But yeah, how you doing tonight, dude?
I'm doing good. Glad to
doing good.
I'm doing good. Yeah, that's always a funny meme floating out there. Doing good. I'm never at my desk anymore.
It really makes my workday very sad and lonely.
So sad. Nick's Discord icon is just like
forever gray.
An empty circle. There's a hollow circle of emptiness.
It reflects that hole in my heart, Nick.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Where you slide right in.
But yeah, no, all things are good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It was a busy day today. We had soccer practice for the 9-year-old. So
9-year-old, holy moly!
So
accelerated growth down there in Florida.
Yeah, it's all the sun.
It's just sprouting right up.
Her practice is 10 miles away from our house.
Sure.
Guess how long it takes me to get there?
40 minutes.
Close. It's usually about anywhere between 45 to 55 minutes.
That's brutal.
But then the ride home is only 22 minutes.
Got all kinds of weird time loops down there. Daughter's aging extra quick. It takes really long time to get 10 miles.
I'm excited. We're going to be talking about Dune 2 tonight. It's been a while since it came out, but we've had
March
a busy month. So I'm excited to finally talk about it. Before we do, got to shout out top tier patrons, Tim B, Usfh, and honorary member Joe C. Thank you guys so much for continued support. You guys rule. If anyone else is interested, head over to patreon.com/showboyspodcast. Check it out. Sign up today if you feel so inclined to help support us financially every month. There are 4 different tiers, all different price.
1, 3, 6, and 10.
$1 for just a measly $1. You can
just out here on the street, just like putting our hats out, like just throw a buck in there, man.
Hey, but it's not for nothing. You get a few extra things. So go check it out. But Dune 2 came out
March 3rd.
We just, bad timing, really. Masters of the Air wrapping up. Dune coming out during March. That's like our busiest month with the March Madness stuff. So we're a little late with this episode.
Still the only thing my Facebook shows me. I don't know what happened. Like all of a sudden I'm in all of these Dune pages, and they talk a lot about Dune, and there are some passionate people that hate this movie, love this movie, and everything in between.
What's worse, Dune fans or Star Wars fans?
Oh man, Dune fans, I guess, to some degree, because Star Wars, like I think they just get a little bit more pissy, and like throw tantrums. Whereas like Dune people, like they really dig their heels in, and it's like foundational to their being. Like where they stand on like the Bible, which is Dune apparently. And it's crazy how many people are just like, these movies suck ass, like just straight up, they hate them.
Coming into watching both of these movies, having no prior Dune experience, I guess, you know, you get your super fans, and if it's not like 100% page to screen accurate transfer of character and story, like I could see that. But as a newbie to Dune, I was like, this is awesome.
Well, I think that's what it is. Is like there's so many new people flooding into the Duneverse, right? Like this whole IP. We just think it's fun and exciting. One, because it's like the next epic movie trilogy or however many they're gonna make, right? So it's the next big movie
Yeah.
IP. One, they're just fantastic movies, period. But also it's this like huge universe full of lore and all that stuff. Like it's everything that all nerds want, right? And here's amazing movies to introduce you to and get you involved. But on the other end of that spectrum are people who like read the books literally in like the 1960s, and they're basically all of a sudden on Facebook like, oh, it's not what the books are and what Frank ever intended. And oh,
Yeah.
all these new people can get off our Dune lawn. They would rather have zero new Dune stuff and just be like, go away, everyone.
You gotta love gatekeepers. Always fun. Always fun
Oh,
to have around.
they're the strongest gatekeepers. Star Wars gatekeepers are like fallible, right? And they know it. Like they're just gatekeeping the gatekeep. Whereas like Dune gatekeepers are like it is a national treasure or something that no one knew about except for like 1% of people, and they were happy to leave it that way. So it's almost
Yeah.
like a travesty that it has a blockbuster movie
Yeah.
now with it.
Speaking of national treasure, can we just like appreciate the memeness that is Stilgar? Stilgar is 100% the most amazing character.
I mean, he legit had like comedic moments, like how
Yeah,
on
dude.
board he was.
It's just every time Paul does anything, he's like, Lisan Al Gaib!
Lisan Al Gaib!
No, it got me when Paul like denied it, and he's like, "Oh, of course he would deny
Yeah, that's exactly what he would do.
It's him." And he turns to his boys, and like they all get like excited. I'm like, "Oh, this is great." These people have finally like found their Jesus. Like, imagine how giddy people would be like if they literally found Jesus, like just like trolling around, like. They're trying to tell him like, you are Jesus, right? It's like seeing these people have this like genuine moment of like happiness who otherwise live pretty rough lives.
But yeah, so overall, like what are your initial thoughts of part 2?
Overall thoughts on part 2. I thought it was amazing. It was fantastic. It was definitely better than 1 in my opinion, because 1 is just a giant trailer and 2 is where like stuff actually like hits the sand and starts pounding away.
I like what you did there, because you got the thumpers and the
That's right.
Look at you. Did you write that, or just right off the top of the head?
Right off the Dune. I mean the dome. But no, it was awesome. And obviously, you know, coming right off of Masters of the Air, Austin Butler part 2 is what this is. He's just like the current trendy actor man that is just doing good things out there for the people.
As shocked as I was to find out that his like normal talking voice is how he sounds in Masters of the Air, I was equally as shocked to hear him first speak in Dune 2, and he just sounds like Stellan Skarsgård.
Skarsgård didn't know like he was gonna do that, because everyone's like, "Did you guys plan that?" Nope. He's like, he was talked, and all of a sudden he's like, he sounds like me, kid. Then Austin Butler's just like, yeah, I figured, you know, he grew up around him, he would sound like him, so I just watched a bunch of Skarsgård and figured it out. I'm like, that's so good. But there's all those little details, and the fact that Timothy and the director, they spoke in French on set because they both are fluent French speakers. That was their own private language that like allowed them to be in that creative space. Like when they were talking, it was like completely like private in their own heads. But yeah, I mean, I know the first one won a bunch of Oscars and nonsense like that, but like this one has to, because visually it has some of the most impressive things I've seen. You know, it's hard to do new things, and it definitely does a lot of new things. Gideon Prime or whatever is a really good example of that. I was like, I don't know what I'm watching right now, but it is awesome.
Yeah, I had to like, I think actually you explained it to me, but that took some like extracurricular digging of like, why is everything black and white all of a sudden? But I also like,
it's not even black and white, it's infrared, which is even crazier, because like you think it's black and white, but you're like, this is like, it's not like a black and white movie. You know, it isn't Sin City. It's literal
great,
infrared
though, because it has a Sin City like
Right.
vibe because you know, they're
They're
in the
still
Colosseum and it's everything is hard whites, hard blacks, but
they're
the Bene
indoors.
Gesserit women, when they're like in their little like press box thing, it's not full color, but there's faded color, right? Because they're
Right.
kind of like in the light, but they're kind of in the shade. So like,
Yeah.
and then when they're walking through the hall, when it's dark, like it's dark, but it's color. It's just those little details
Yeah,
are so cool.
Yeah, because the sun is literally what is making it like that. So if you're not in the sun, you're not getting
Mhm.
hit with the infrared.
The
Obviously, that's
fireworks look super cool.
these like inky, just like ink and water firework things going on. And it's not like by any means like a slow scene. Like it's huge. Like everything is just extra scaled up on that
Mhm.
planet. And even the sun was like super close. There's just aesthetically, it was just gorgeous. Then you have Austin Butler like literally debuting like into an arena. Like talk about an entrance into a franchise.
One thing that I'm just gonna dive right in. This
Well, did you like the movie?
Yes, I loved it.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. I took my father-in-law was up visiting. We went and saw it. He like fell asleep. Both times I saw it with one of Becca's family members who was in town.
Because you're just like converting people at this point.
Yeah.
Because because shortly after you're like, I'm all in on this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm 100%.
And I'm bringing everyone with me.
Watch this 3-hour movie.
I actually think I took her brother first. And the whole time it was a pleasant experience, but the whole time he didn't watch the first one. So I'm like, when something was happening, I was like, that's because blah, 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 blah. And he's like, that means nothing to me, but thank you. I liked it a lot more the second viewing. One, because I wasn't kind of explaining what was going on. And two, like I was able to soak it in. My big question in part one was the legitimacy of the prophecies, like all of the Lisan Al Gaib stuff that was being told, or being like foreshadowed and stuff in the first movie. Like, how legitimate was it? Is it like true? That are the visions like real, or is we saw in the first movie Paul's like very well read, very studious, like he was definitely studying Arrakis before they left, so like knowing their ways, one of the prophecies are like kind of would naturally happen if someone is studying the planet a lot before they go there. And I think this movie kind of answered my question, but I would like to know your opinion first before I share mine.
Part 2 does a pretty good job, I think, about still threading that needle, because like you have the naysayer group, you have the obviously people that were just all for it. He obviously is like in denial about it, but then like just kind of owns it like toward the end there. It's definitely a good bit of propaganda though, and like Paul is still equally adept and able, right? He isn't just some oaf out of the sand. Like he knows things, and he's good. He's also the right calibrated mix for this prophecy, being a male Bene Gesserit and also of a noble royal house. So if it was just like walking in out of the dunes and like, hey, my name's Bill and I'm the prophet, right? Definitely full on prophet. But since it's Paul, I think there's a strong case that it's still not legit Messiah, like he's some sort of deity come forth kind of thing. They do a good job at like presenting both sides. Like you have this undertone where like his mother's in on this whole ordeal. She's even manipulating the situation against the Bene Gesserit. And it's like, and then, Paul just decides, he's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to kind of do this thing that I happen to have all the tools to do, including nukes and all that fun stuff. So.
A whole lot. I was dead set in one opinion, but now just recalling towards the end of the movie, that last act, we know the Bene Gesserit, they have, some obvious like tricks up their sleeve with, they got the voice. There's some, I don't know if you want to call it spiritual or magical
spice.
Yeah. And his mother's Bene Gesserit, and he's been trained in the Bene Gesserit. So like, we have that little tinge of like this almost supernatural side of the Dune verse. But I think it's pretty clear that like Paul and his mother are not the good guys. They're not good intended people. I think maybe Paul started out maybe with good intentions, but I think the evidence leans more towards it being propaganda, it being a way to like control the what are they called again? Femin? Farron?
Freeman.
Fremen, because his House Atreides was going there to get desert power. Then you look at things like obviously he's having the dreams and visions, but the Bene Gesserit lady is talking about dreams and visions. That could just be a Bene Gesserit thing. That doesn't have to be like a.
Well, it's also a spice thing.
Yeah, that's not a Messiah thing.
Right.
That can be explained away. You have, of course, you have the drinking of the water of life and the resurrection from Chani's tear, right? His mother's not Lisan Al Gaib, and she survived the water of life, right?
Yeah, but she's a female one, and the trick was that like a male shouldn't even be able to survive that. So like whatever the mother ordained or whatever she was, like only women can handle that blue liquid.
He's like, she's a Bene Gesserit. She has trained her body to be able to
true.
like withstand poison. So why
Right.
couldn't he do the same thing? Because he's
Right.
also that. And he came from that blood. I don't know, maybe like.
So was it an act that he was resurrected with the prophecy of the tear from,
I mean,
like her?
It could be coincidence. I don't know.
Right.
Could have been planned, because that's a heavy theme throughout the whole movie. Like you mentioned, the Bene Gesserit are the puppeteers pulling the strings all across, the known galaxy to us with the Harkonnens and the Atreides. Those are the only houses we know of, but they're pulling the strings. They're making power moves like all over the place.
And the thing I don't fully understand yet is his mother, right, against the will of the Bene Gesserit, created a male Bene Gesserit like heir. So I don't know if that was out of love for Leto, and like him having like an heir, whatever her motivation was there to defy them, like ultimately leads to this better hand that she has even over her own Shadow Council.
And she like gives me some not good vibes. Like she's up to something nefarious.
Yeah, and Paul's inherently good, but like obviously when he puts the ring on and he like steps up at like the big meeting, like he willingly chooses, because he takes the ring off and like he that he was kind of shedding that vengeful path.
But was he shedding the vengeful path, or was he doing it as an attempt to get the Fremen to accept him because he's like hiding his nobility? Was it more of a ploy or more of like I kind of want to distance myself from this life?
Yeah,
it's hard to tell. It's very hard to tell.
Yeah, it all too conveniently kind of like comes together like at a flip of a switch, because like we've laid all these well ground plans and now it's time. And at that point it's too late because the Fremen are all in, and they just need him to like stand up and say, "Let's go."
And it's tough because you can see it with Chani, like he genuinely cares about Chani, but then if he flips the switch and he's like, the power move is Florence Pugh. Sorry, Zendaya. Like and how easy he was able to just like flip that switch. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, but it's weird though, because like Gurney, there's no way he would have been able to know that he was still alive. Like that was pretty happen chance that he stumbled upon Gurney, who also happened to know where the nukes were. Like that was all super convenient. And obviously it was Gurney plus his mother, basically Gurney also in his ear, like, bro, you are Atreides. Like, you can do this, man. Messiah or not. Like, one, they think you are. Two, we got tools here.
Literal cave full of nukes.
So it may be like he was good until like literally every ace was in front of him and he's like, bunch of kill billions. That's the other thing. Like that's the end game. Half the universe or whatever gets like wiped out. I think the stats that I see online are 62 billion people and 100 worlds are sterilized.
So he just goes Thanos on everyone?
Kinda, yeah. Well, the end of the Holy War.
Spoiler
Holy
alert,
War
bro.
causes that, but we don't know if that's going to come to be, because already that's the other big gripe is like people the ending was changed from the books. Like I think from the fight sequence with Butler is where it started to change a lot. There's a lot of like where we get into like the politicalness of all of that, and even like the Emperor. Like there's a bunch of things that changed there that I don't understand, but like that's a big hot topic too. Is like the director specifically has changed things, but also a lot of people argue it's for the betterment of the characters on screen. Chani like is another big gripe because people are like she's just all in on like she's all in on Paul. Like she doesn't have this whole you know don't do it Paul thing going on, but like everyone's like if she was just kind of all hail Paul, I love you, and like that's the depth of her character in the books. Like that would make a poor character on screen. Little things like that. But that's what he tells Chani though too. Like he doesn't want all those people to die. That's why he didn't go south for so long. He's like, I'm not doing it because it's gonna. See, he had like genuine though like resistance to the prophecy. Then like he genuinely, I don't think wanted to do it.
Yeah, and that's good writing, by the way. That we're like sitting here having this conversation where we're like, literally both points are very valid, and it's hard to tell what like his actual intentions were. But you get to that final meeting place, right, where only the leaders of the Fremen are allowed to speak in the siege or whatever. And Stilgar's like, do it. Just take my life. Take my spot. Paul's just like, bro, dude, chill. But in terms of my original, question and thought of the authenticity of the Gaibness, he's there and kind of to prove his deityness, divineness, or whatever. Like he tells specific people like about their lives that only they know, right? And it must have been accurate because the two people that he did that to like basically dropped to their knees right on the spot, and they're like, oh my gosh, Lisan Al Gaib. So like how would that happen, right? Is that like another Bene Gesserit like mind trick thing? Or
I'd have to say so. They kind of just have these Jedi powers where like they can probably read minds. Like if you can talk to people, and also usually people in that state like they wear a lot out, like open in their mind. Like I think that you probably tap in and just like know these things.
That part though is the only true part that makes me go,
He was just in his pocket, man.
Maybe he really is. Maybe there really is something to this.
And you're like, Lisan Al Gaib.
Yeah, I looked at my brother-in-law and father-in-law exactly like Stilgar. As it is written. That's really the only aspect that I can't like naturally explain away in my head of being like, no, this is all just like a power play, like manipulation of the masses to achieve a goal. But I think the way Denny like handled the characters, again, I'm going through the audiobook actually. I'm like 2 hours in, so I got a long way to go. It's like 11 hours or something. So I don't have a comparison to the books, the characters that we see on the screen to the books, but the way Paul is written in these movies is like super fascinating because even at the end of the movie, I think Paul is not supposed to be liked and the hero, right? But there are many, many moments in both films where I'm like, he's got good intentions and like he's doing good things. And then all of a sudden, like he just does the heel turn and he's nuking half the planet.
He did some like really hard heel turns where it's like everyone else is like, oh yeah, that's no bueno. No, we don't accept bro as emperor now. It's just because of whatever shenanigans is going on down there. We're gonna invade, which I have some logistical concerns about how that all plays out. But maybe hopefully 3 just like continues that whole scene where they're flying upwards to just duke it out in the skies.
That last third of the movie, so epic. There is far more action in this movie than the first one, obviously. But I would say even so, it's not like a super action-packed movie. At least not till like the back third-ish. The action scenes we got though, my goodness. I'm even thinking of the spice harvester when they're like
trying to take out the ornithopter.
Yeah, they ambush the mining operation and then the ornithopters up there, and they're like running along with the spider legs of the harvester, and oh my gosh, that whole thing was
in the way that
awesome.
In the way that scene even like comes about, And that's just like the niceness of how he's directed this movie. Like it wasn't set up like a heist scene, right? Like we didn't go into that scene. At least I don't remember it as such, like that we're gonna get a harvester takedown, right? It's just kind of like, oh, here's a harvester crew, right? Let's see
Yeah, I want to say that's like it starts out with his little like sand straw, and
right.
the desert mouse is like fiddling around with it, and he's like, get out of here. And then all of a sudden there's like, we're just gonna do this epic ambush with absolutely
Yeah.
no warning
And it
or
just takes off.
foreshadowing.
It just takes off, and it's just like I don't know what's happening, but like it's
Yeah.
gonna keep escalating.
But like them, first off, the like machine gun fire from the copter itself, like the burst, so cool, so audibly pleasing, like sounded amazing. The way they hid behind the legs of the harvester, the way that Paul had to draw the fire so the shield would go down, so the rocket could like penetrate the shield.
Mm-hmm.
Super cool. But I think my favorite shot of the movie is them running and the copter just like exploding and crashing in the background. That's like one of the coolest looking scenes, I think, of both movies, probably.
Yeah, that scene is super impressive when you see it. I mean, a lot of those scenes and sequences are just super impressive, and the way they're pieced together too to tell the story is very natural. But like, it's not just like kind of tossed in front of you. Like you don't know what you're watching yet when it's all happening, right? And you piece it together later. So just like the Gideon Prime thing, like you didn't know you're going to get a gladiator match.
Yeah.
So like it's just the way they're set up is so organic, and that's just like that movie's so grounded. Like obviously there's CGI in it, but they've built some really big sets.
Paul's sandworm riding thing, obviously not a lot of it because it's a giant sandworm, but a good chunk of that is done with practical effects, and Timothy literally getting sandblasted tried to do that. But like they built those parts of the worm, like where he's like hooking onto the flaps and pulling up, like it just, man,
Makes so much sense.
I always love practical effects. So like anytime you can get something practical in there, it's a win in my book.
But I also like how that's explained, like how that works. Like to me, it made a lot of sense as it was happening. I'm like, how is this gonna work? Like, how are they gonna ride this thing? They got these hooks, and it pulls up like it's like nose vents or whatever,
folds,
right? And like it gets sand in there. You don't want to get sand in your terry fold, so you got to come to the surface.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense actually.
Let those flaps air out, But I think your point though of like how they varied on to the sandworms, especially with like Paul's mom's like adult baby carriage thing that they're like toting her around in. Yeah, like how is it where they're just like, all right, buddy, can you just pull up, like just hang out here for a second, let us load up, then we'll get going? Or did they just like chuck everything on and then somehow like
people on those Facebook groups, they have all the answers to all those things, and I've seen some people explain that away, because usually it starts off with someone who has not read the books ask a question, and then 1,000 comments later, like you get your response somewhere in there along with the other stuff. Like it's crazy. But you have your three groups. You have the person that asks the question because they just say, I've never read the books, I don't know what's going on here, but I just have some basic questions. Someone who read the book and is honest with you, someone who's read the book and hates you, more people that have not read the book and are just like, this movie freaking rocks. And then you have the people that are like calling everyone else in the group like Nazis.
Classic. Yeah, classic internet.
That's the other problem though, is there's a lot of like weird social undertones in this story, right? Whether it's like power, religion, like basically this book hits on like freaking everything. So there's a lot of people in there like charged up with like source material, and like people can just say something. I was actually reading one earlier today where it was like, he was just like, I don't think Paul did anything wrong. Someone really quick who was like, yeah, it's probably because you're like some sort of like racist like
Yeah,
just
it's
went
way to
on
go,
with it.
cis white guy.
Yeah, just like laid into it. And I'm like, wow, man, you just did like a whole profile on this dude because like he asked a question or just like made a statement about why Paul isn't a bad guy. But like it's loaded, it's charged up in there. And it
Yeah.
doesn't help because the themes of this story are like everything. So like
all the hot button issues.
nothing is like baseless. Like no one's like, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
technically that's on topic.
Yeah, I mean it's loaded. You have a lot of like Middle Eastern references and
Yeah, there's that too.
influences. You have the religion aspect, you have the power aspect. I mean, Paul even throws abortion in there at the beginning of this one.
Yeah.
Where he's like, you know what? I just kind of wish Mother would just send you up to the cosmos. And it's like, whoa, bro, let's come on. Let's.
So in the 84 version and in the books, his sister is a toddler. So good call on the director to be like, let's not go about it that way. Let's just have like
She was just born a toddler.
I don't know, but like in
She
the book,
just was there already as a toddler.
I have no idea how she came about, but like her parts, like in the book and in that movie, is just like a 2-year-old walking around, just like being a Bene Gesserit, using the voice and just like talking as a full-grown adult, right? So you see how that would like
probably
be
better.
be kind of yeah. So like as weird as like I thought that was weird, I'm like, hold on, I'm like the fetus, the like unborn baby is completely up the speed here and like asking questions. I'm like, this is weird. But then I come to find out like that was the conservative choice. To the more stylistic choice to like go about that. I'm like, man, this universe gets weirder and weirder.
Yeah. I enjoyed seeing more. Speaking of weird, like more like barren apparatuses, like his like floating balloon things, and like
the Baron, yeah,
like his methods of everyday travel.
That dude, man, he likes his slime oil baths.
Ugh, yeah, whatever that is, it's like the villain version of Back to Tank.
It is. They're like, what should he heal in? A back to tank, but make it black, sticky,
just filled with oil.
Yeah, just filled with oil. But it's like oil that has something else in it. I don't even want to go there. Like it's just weird. It's a weird substance.
Yeah, obviously the epic battle at the end, insane.
Wait,
so cool.
Okay. When I left this movie though, there was still a ton of moments. They didn't make it bad. Right. But I was thinking about how any other movie would get shredded for how often it was barely an inconvenience. I get there's a lot of off-screen training Paul got from your boy to like ride the sandworms. But like we just pretended 9 months went by and it's like, all right, let's do the thing. Great, cool thing to see, and no one's upset. But like, I don't know. Even that last battle, it's accurate to the books because the last battle doesn't have a lot of description as to how it went down. Like it literally just happened like that, like really quickly. It all just fell apart for the Emperor. But watching the movie with no context, I'm like, that was super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
Yeah. I mean, they did spend about 30 seconds being like, all right, here's the plan.
Right. It's going to go
and
like
then
this.
They executed it very well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
perfect.
In terms of, I don't think that one is as much of a barely an inconvenience as like the sandworm riding. Like,
right.
All right, we're going to give you, this is how you prove to us that you're a Fremen. Go ride a sandworm. And then it's literally the biggest one ever seen in human history. And he's just like, stands up and he's like, yeah. The battle thing I can see because the whole movie is Paul fighting alongside the Fremen, right? He's earning his stripe. He gets his warrior name, which, by the way, like I did one of the Leonardo DiCaprio, like he said it thing because, like as I mentioned earlier, one of our friends in Steam, his name is Madeeb's left hand, and I was like, oh, I finally like have the context of like. I still don't get the left hand part, but he changes it pretty. He hasn't in a while.
It's
but
the hand that he wears his ring on.
is it?
I
Okay,
was trying to figure
I'll have
that
to
out
ask
too.
him. I'll ask him why it's left hand. But there
No
were a lot of
spoilers, though.
times. Yeah, there were a lot of times though where he would change it and it would just be like goofy stuff. But
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's Muad'Dib. That's what it is. Which was a really cool moment for me. But he gets his warrior name. He's pulling off all these ambushes on the Harkonnens and stuff.
We'll pause. The fact that name, how we know it before knowing what it was too, it did take me a little bit longer to like take that seriously.
I know.
I was like, hold on. Wait.
Yeah. All I could think of is Crossland's like dumb Steam picture.
Yeah.
Cartoon face.
Right. And like it's supposed to be this like very like serious moment where he's getting his name and like what's his name is just like he's just like, oh yes, that's perfect. Like the mouse.
Exactly
and
what the Gaib would do.
As it was written.
But him like being able to plan and coordinate an attack even at that scale with the Fremen, not like as much of an inconvenience as
that was good. That was all good.
Getting the entire community to jump onto a sandworm back, like to make the trip south. That's definitely barely an inconvenience.
Well, they hyped up the trip south, and like Angus kind of shows up, and then like all that stuff happens that he didn't want to happen. I'm like, well, that escalated quickly. I guess we're doing the thing that you didn't want to do, Paul.
If they made these things less of an inconvenience or more of an inconvenience,
a long ass movie.
It would be like a 5-hour movie.
Yeah, and that's the parts that I get. Like, one, it's a long movie, and like we don't need to see like a training montage of like sandworm riding. So like I get it, but I don't know. By the end of it, definitely it was like just a lot of epic big things happening and like a lot of foretold things that just need to happen for the sake of happening. And I'm like, well, we're just doing the thing now.
Yeah. I also like.
They did have to work at that ornithopter though to get that thing down. That was once again that scene was awesome.
That was definitely an inconvenience.
That was an inconvenience for sure.
What was not an inconvenience was killing the Baron and Rabin. Like 10 seconds, like Paul just walks in, he's like, goodbye, Uncle. And then Gurney's just like, Rabin, see you later. Like, I mean,
for sure. Like that scene, like once they roll up on the Emperor, like in his throne room, and like all that unfolds, I'm like, okay, like we're just getting right to the
no foreplay. We're just
I'm like,
diving right in.
Like apparently there's 10 minutes left in the movie because we have no time to like linger here.
Yeah.
Emperor, you suck. You're done. Okay, everyone on the ships that we just, commandeered in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Everyone on them, because we're going to go fight these guys now. Like, they're just rolling.
The Baron, the killing of the Baron was not as much of a letdown for me as the fight between Gurney and Rabin, because Gurney just straight up walks up to him and like stabs him in the throat, and that's it. There's like, see, it happens so fast, Nick, that you don't even remember it happening.
Yeah,
there's no
twice, so
there's no fight. It's just he's like, Rabin's like kind of walking away, and Gurney calls out to him, and then he's like, "Oh, Gurney, okay, let's do this." I'm paraphrasing, obviously.
Was he getting on an ornithopter?
Kind of. He was like walking towards one. Yeah.
Were they like really scared? No, that was a different scene.
No. Because he turns around and starts walking towards Gurney. He's like, "All right, yeah, okay, let's do this." Like, I've done this once before, but like the whole interaction, literally, Gurney walks up to him, stabs him in the neck. Like, that's it. There's no fight.
Okay, so I wrote off Rabin because when he was in the like throne room with Fade and like the Baron and all that, and he just like walks off, I'm like, okay, he's slipping away. He'll be back in like the next movie. That's the last time I remember him, and I was like, oh, he's just gonna like slither off.
It kisses Fade's boot and then disappears forever.
Yeah.
He becomes such like a wuss. Like, He's like running
He's
away from the
embarrassed.
Fremen. He's running away from
Yeah.
Muad'Dib. Like,
I think he got caught up in the hype, man.
yeah, that's
He
true.
got spooked by Muad'Dib.
Yeah.
I also like the organicness that everyone doesn't know how to say Muad'Dib or Muad'Dib, right? Because the Emperor says it like in a really weird way, but that's also like
Christopher walking away.
I like that there was not an enforced like this is how you say it.
Yeah.
Like there are slight inflections every time someone else would say his name, and I'm like, that's how that would happen because like
Yeah.
you throw that against like a bunch of different groups of people, they're gonna say that a lot of different ways.
Yeah. And I liked
There's a hyphen in there, man. It's gonna
what's,
confuse us English speakers.
Princess Arulian.
Yeah, close enough.
Florence Pugh's character.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed from the books, the little bit that I've listened to, you know how many scenes started off with her like talking into her little diary recorder thing?
Yes.
Kind of explaining what's going on. That happens just about every other chapter in the book. It's her like recording something like that. So I thought that was a cool, like, after I started listening to the audiobook, I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool thing that they carried over kind of. But I loved her character's realization of like, oh, wait a second, what if Paul's not dead? What if Paul is Muad'Dib? And they're like, yeah, nah. Man, you know what? You and I should just reshoot both these movies to be like 5 minutes long. I feel like it could just be like 2 conversations.
Paul's like, no, I don't wanna. I'm gonna wait.
But yeah, like, what do you think of the reveal that Paul is half Harkonnen?
I thought that was interesting, but also like they explain that away really quickly because it's like Bene Gesserit doing like some weird like breeding generational like cross pollination of like the best things in the universe.
They're making their power plays.
Yeah, but she was unaware of it, which was nice to know.
Paul's mom.
Yeah, she didn't know it until she drank the blue stuff.
Jessica,
okay, so
by the way, we got to quit calling her Paul's mom.
Yeah, Lady Jessica. Explain that though. They drink the blue liquid. It must have like some sort of power to like allow her to see all the memories of the prior mother incarnate or whatever they called it. And then like Paul was able to see like the every anything. I don't know if he just got all of like what Lady Jessica saw or he got like some other version of it.
Yeah, I don't know. See,
but like, why is this blue liquid just like passing along memories like a floppy disk? You know?
I don't know. Maybe it like the poisonous nature of it gets their mind into a state where it's so close to death that it like allows the transfer.
So in real time, I was thinking about this in the movie, right? Like, not bragging, but in real time, I was like, they don't realize she's pregnant, and I'm like it's either gonna kill the baby, or like something else is gonna happen, and then like by time like it's done, the old mother was like, "What have we done? She's pregnant. Like you didn't know that already, Miss? I know everything." And like there's like a room full of women, you don't notice. It wasn't even like, I wonder how that's gonna play out. She's literally, what have we done? As if I know something bad is. So it's like we're not gonna vet that any further than that. We're just gonna walk into a cave and be like, "You're it. Let's go."
Well, in order for Paul to be that, Lady Jessica, you have to be this. So let's make it happen.
Right.
So where he's like almost playing into trying to manipulate the prophecy of actually like happening.
And yeah, I mean, they've waited so long, and I mean, when it's within your fingertips and you have like literally almost everything, you're like, well, that all makes sense. So you might as well just be that thing too. So let's go. Let's make things happen. But that sucks to like have all like the right pieces to the puzzle, but like you're still wrong.
One of my favorite parts is like when Paul does the little salute thing.
Yeah.
But like, did you notice he says the thing the Fremen say, like that? What was his name? It's not Jarvis. That's from Iron Man. Jameis says before their duel, may your blade chip and shatter or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he combines the two like pre-battle salute things.
And Faye's just like, yeah, whatever, bro.
He's
let's
like,
do it.
yeah, chip shatter, whatever.
He's like, this looks like this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I like his demeanor about everything. Like everything's just like a game to him. He's like, ooh, we're playing a game. We're
Yeah.
doing cool little salutes. Let's do this. Let's
Yeah,
do
and
the thing where we stab each other.
I like when he's getting ready to, take Paul down. He's like, "Oh, so anything I should know about the pet?" Like you got it. Hey, so what time she need to go outside? Like,
Yeah.
What time should I feed her? Johnny was not happy.
Oh, Chani. She just rides off into the distance on her
Yes.
sandworm.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of like what they're setting her up to be. Is kind of like the actual good guy of the story. I feel like she's going to be like the leader of the Fremen resistance, right? Could be totally off base there, but that's where she seems to be trending for me.
I think she's gonna Thanos it up and just like retire at like a little house in the dunes, looking at the sunset.
They actually said Dune in this movie too, by the way.
Oh yeah. What was that? That's the original name of the planet, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was one of the things that he whipped out in the like council scene. He's like, "Oh yeah, well you know what else I know? This planet's actually called Dune," and everyone's like, "Lisan Al Gaib." Do you think Butler and Chalamet did their that fight?
Yes.
Up until like the Star Fox like triple barrel roll that Paul does over Fade, like.
Oh yeah, and like completely just arm locks them or something like that.
Yeah, super cool, like great scene. So Fade gets defeated, and Paul's like, "All right, Mr. Emperor, I'm marrying your daughter and taking over." Like, and the Emperor's just like, "You got it, bro." Like,
I'm retiring. This is nonsense.
yeah, I'm too old for this. Like, that part did seem very super easy, and
that's what I mean. It's like a 10-minute like, here's the end of everything. Like the whole goal here, like the plan, all done. 10 minutes flat.
But then we're just left with Gurney being like, "Oh yeah, so all the other houses, they're not buying this, Paul. So what do you want us to do?" Paul's like, "How many nukes do we have left?"
Well, he's not. Well, that's why he didn't hit the actual fort. You're not supposed to use the nukes on other people. Like that's the point. That's why he blew up the wall that kept the storm out with the nukes, because it's like a little loophole. Like you're not supposed to use the nukes against people. So he just hit the ground with them, which then led to their demise. So that's the whole thing, is all the houses have nukes.
Yeah.
But like there's like a treaty or whatever that says like they can't detonate without like themselves being detonated. Like basically everyone would just nuke you if you nuked anybody. So like part 2 is the second half of the first book of Dune. And I thought Messiah was next, but Messiah isn't next. Messiah is like later into the future. So
Aren't
I don't
there
know.
like 20 books?
Well, there's only like 4 or 5 that are written by Frank. The rest are like the bastard books of his son, which people don't like. If they
Oh really?
there's a lot of Frank purists, and like
Dang, not even his own blood gets the support.
Nope.
That's ridiculous.
Nope.
His son did say that like these movies are pretty book accurate, and probably like his dad would probably be proud of these.
But he makes a lot of money. Like he's not going to say the opposite of that. He's selling the IP. Like he's making a lot of money.
That's true.
Say that.
So you're saying you don't like him, Nick?
Oh, I love the movies.
So after watching this movie, I proceeded to listen to the soundtrack for like 2 weeks straight.
In your Crushers.
So great. Oh my gosh. In the Crushers, it's a literal dream. Man, I don't want to like, yeah. As it was written. Not to like totally nerd out on music stuff, but like
it's Hans Zimmer,
the stuff that the stuff that he whips together with his team, like tonally, is so like brilliantly done. I love it so much. It's so good. All this really did was make me really want to play Dune Awakening.
Did you watch the one from the devs where they're like talking about it, like how they went on set for the movie and all that stuff? Did you send that? Okay. That was a good video because they were getting nerdy about lighting in game and all that nonsense. And I was like, oh yeah, I like when people talk about that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds, I mean, the premise sounds really cool, an MMO in the Dune world, and it's got like heavy survival aspects and base building aspects, which we're fans of.
I like how they described the progression of it. Like it starts off as a pure play like survival, obviously, but once you get out of like, you're not gonna die from being in the desert. It becomes more of like political survival and like survival within the game and like all that stuff. So I was like, that's cool. I wonder if it'll ever come out and if it's gonna be good.
Yeah, and if it'll stay as intended. But yeah, I think Dune 2 was a great follow-up to Dune 1. Like you mentioned, both movies encapsulate the book, and there's 3 and 4 coming movie-wise.
Allegedly 4, definitely 3, but 4 seems pretty confirmed as well. Queen's Gambit actress, she is
Anya Taylor-Joy. Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was cool that we did get to see her adult self, and not just the fetal state talking through weird Bene Gesserit mind tricks.
It was very Zendaya from Dune 1, but like way less. We only got the one scene instead of like the 7 scenes.
Was it a shoulder turn?
Yeah, it kind of was a little bit, yeah. And
gotta have that.
One thing you gotta note though, if she comes in the next movie, obvious time jump because she is unborn.
Yeah.
And in that shot, she's
at least 16.
Yeah. They're on Arrakis, and there is a body of water.
Mm-hmm. Well, Arrakis used to be a water planet.
Yeah, that's the whole the Lisan Al Gaib is to usher back in the green paradise of Arrakis, right?
Didn't Paul say that too? And like they got real hype or something.
Of course, yeah. Of course.
I remember that.
He knows what he's doing. That's actually why they save all of the fluids from the fallen Fremen in that like reservoir. Like they plan to use that to usher in back in the vegetation and stuff. I thought it was a cool scene too. First off, it's very hard to tell where the water was because it was so like still and clear. It just looked like a massive cavern of like underground buildings. But the scene of Paul and Johnny like on the dunes where he's like, yeah, like back on I don't remember what his planet's name is. Like this would all be water.
Yeah.
And she's like, what do you call it? Swimming? Like,
yeah.
I love that. That's just like,
that was good.
She doesn't like, she's never seen a body of water like that. So rain and swimming are just completely foreign concepts to her.
Water just falls from the sky.
Could you imagine Anakin on Arrakis?
He would be a very angry Darth Vader, yellow eye Vader for sure, just like in full rage mode. But also, did you see that image that I shared where it was like the parallels between Paul and like Anakin? I thought that was so cool.
That's very cool.
And I've seen a lot of those where people are just running parallels between like Dune and something else. Yeah. But like it's totally not copying because it's so aesthetically pleasing in this Dune verse that you're not like, oh, that's Anakin with the angry evil stare. Also cements Paul's fall from grace too, because poor Anakin got the hood up, went full Sith.
Man, Denny's a great director. Yeah, excited. If you made it this far, thank you guys so much. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. Leave a comment. Let us know who you think would win. Pre-Darth Vader Anakin versus Paul Atreides in a duel in the throne room. Who do you got, Nick?
Anakin could have wiped the floor with him.
Pre-Vader?
Yeah. Anakin?
You think? I mean,
Pre-Vader is like arguably stronger than Vader.
He's got the voice.
Not really.
Though it's similar to the Force.
I don't know. My bet's still on Anakin.
That's just rude.
Yeah.
I guess we'll never know unless there's an epic crossover to be had. But yeah, anyways, thanks guys, and we'll see you next time.
Lisan Al Gaib.
Maybe Dad and Chad will eventually return to Showboys. We'll never
Nope.
know. Tune in, find out. That's next year's March Madness.
Oh God.
Put Dune characters head to head against Star Wars characters.
Aquaman.
Duncan, Idaho. Who would be the Star Wars equivalent to Duncan, Idaho?
I mean, he would be like Captain Rex. Cody would go up against Gurney.
There you go.
Rex would definitely have to go up against Idaho.
What a dumb name, by the way.